Hey there students, in today's video we're going to be talking about how to prepare a trial balance step by step. First we'll go through where the trial balance is in the accounting cycle, we'll talk about what the trial balance is, then we're going to go through a huge example from journalizing all the way to preparing a trial balance from scratch. Let's get into it. Okay, so first off, where does the trial balance actually go in the accounting cycle? As you might have known already, there's 10 steps in the accounting cycle here, from all the way to analyze transactions to create and posting reversing entries. Now, if you look all the way over here, this is where the trial balance goes. So we actually have to analyze transactions, prepare journal entries, and post the journal entries to the ledger before you can actually prepare the trial balance. Now, what is the trial balance? So if we scroll down here, you can kind of see the definition. So it's a listing of the ledger accounts and their debit or credit balances to determine that debits equal credits in the recording process. Now, this is very, very important here. So we must talk about this. The debits have to equal credits. Debits must equal credits. So your balances have to add up at the end. Very important to know that, because if they don't add up, there was an error inside of this process up here when we went through preparing the journal entries. If the debits don't equal credits, there will be an error there, and they must equal. That's how you know you did the trial balance correctly. So this is where the trial balance goes, and this is basically the gist, is that we summarize all the accounts and they must equal at the very end. Debit balances have to equal credit balances. That's a trial balance. Now let's go ahead and jump into a full example in Excel. Okay, so now we're in Excel. We're going to be talking about 3 different tabs: journalizing, general ledger, and the trial balance, preparing them. We have to go from left to right here. First, we need to look at some transactions and journalize them. Now, for purposes of this video, I made it super easy. I went ahead and just wrote out all the transactions that happened during the month of October. As you can see, these are the dates here. And I'm just going to go through and tell you what happened in this business so you can get a quick summary, and that way we can move forward into posting into the general ledger and then creating the trial balance. So the first journal entry, we went ahead and made a sale. As you can see, cash was debited here and sales revenue was credited for $100,000. On the 8th of October, we had an expense, just a general expense. We had to go ahead and record it for $34,500, and then we're going to pay it later. As you can see, we credited accounts payable for $34,500. The third entry here on the 22nd, we bought some supplies with cash. So supplies went up, and then cash went down for $52.30. Then on the 24th, we went ahead and collected cash on a previous receivable that we've been waiting on. So cash went up by $16,870, accounts receivable went down by $16,870. And lastly, on the 5th journal entry at the very end of the month, we went ahead and put a truck in the business. So it basically added or acquired a truck, and that went ahead and increased the equity account there. So the truck went up by $58,500, capital account went up as well by $58,500. So from here, let's go ahead and take a look at the general ledger. We're going to be moving these transactions over. So in the general ledger, it's basically the type of account, and then you add everything that you journalized. From here, you just move it over into the correct account. So I'll give you an example. We'll start with cash here. So as you can see with cash, on the first entry, it did increase by $100,000 when we made a sale. So what we're going to do here, on this date, which was 10/5, we made a sale and it increased the balance by $100,000. So it went up there. I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. So next here, and let me undo that, we'll do 10/5 here. Okay, the next transaction that took place here, if you scroll down, right here on the 22nd, cash went down by $52.30. So we're just going to stick with cash here. So on 10/22, we went ahead and let's take a look. We bought some supplies. So we just put in the description, bought supplies. And actually it goes down here by $52.30. So negative $52.30. And let's go down on the 24th. we went ahead and collected cash on a receivable. So 1024, collected cash, receivable. All right. So here, it went ahead and went up by 16,870. So we go ahead and increase it here by 16,870. And now what we do is we get the final balance down here. To do that, we'll just go ahead and sum. So we'll do sum, and then we'll take this number, and we'll go ahead and sum up all these numbers here. And there we go, 196,640. And I'll go ahead and also increase the size of this here. There we go. All right. So next, let's go ahead and tackle accounts receivable. So going back to the journal entries again, you can see right here, we had a reduction in accounts receivable by 16,870. So we already had a balance here of 24,500. So let's just go ahead and write it in. So 16,870 on 1024. So we went ahead and collected cash. So receivable is going to be going down here. So we have to go ahead and put it as a credit balance. So 16,870, we're going to do a minus like that. And let's go ahead and make it bigger. And then that's it. That was the only time really accounts receivable was affected. So we're going to go ahead and do the final balance here. We'll just do equals sum these two numbers. There we go, 7,630. Now the truck, that's the next account. Let's go ahead and take a look at the truck. So the truck, 58,500 increase there. And if you see, it started with a zero balance. So we don't have to worry about that here. We just go ahead and add the 58,500. So 1029 is when this took place. We basically we bought a truck and added it to the business. That's kind of what happened there. So what we're going to do is go ahead and increase it here by 58,500. Let's increase that. And so now we'll just, pretty easy sum. Honestly, we just got to go ahead and 0 plus this. So let's just go ahead and copy. And there we go. So next here we have sales revenue. So if you look here, we had sales revenue of 100,000. So let's go ahead and increase that here. So we're going to go ahead and say on 10/5, we made a sale. And it was an increase of $100,000. So the balance will equal this number plus that number. There we go, 149,000. Now expenses here, let's take a look at what we have for expenses. So expenses, 10,300 was our original balance, and then if you look over here, it increased, debited 34,500. So let's go ahead and add that in. So this was on 10/8. And we just made an expense. It's going to be increased by 34,500. So we'll go ahead and sum these up. That was all there was. Now we're at 44,800. Let's increase that. Sorry, 10/8 was the journal entry there. All right, made an expense there, 34,500, 44,800. Accounts payable. So it looks like we had an accounts payable of 34,500 here as well. So let's go ahead and increase that. So on 10/8, recorded accounts payable for that expense that we just had. And it was 34,500. Okay, let's sum up total there. 61,400 there. Okay, lastly, this business capital account. Went ahead and acquired that truck. If you recall, over here we acquired the truck there, 1029. So let's go ahead and add that up here. On the 29th, we went ahead and added a truck to the business. So let's go ahead and debit that truck for $58,500. Let's make sure that's right. Okay. Just move that down. And that's actually a credit, so we're going to credit that category there. So let's go ahead and sum this up. All right, 97170. We start with 38,670. We added a truck there, 58,500. Looks good. So we have all the journal entries now. We move them to the general ledgers, right? So what we do with this is we just take the final balances. So remember, I was adding these up, right? These are the final balances for each category. What we're going to do is take all these balances and move them to the trial balance. That's the next stage. So remember, first we analyze transactions and journalize them, move it into the general ledger to summarize what account it goes under. Lastly, we take the balances and we move them to create and prepare a trial balance. So let's go ahead and do that. So over here, under cash, we're going to go ahead and start moving numbers over. So if you look under cash, we have 196,640. So let's move that over. And we're going to go ahead and paste. And we're going to do paste special, paste values only, so it doesn't bring over that formula. Now the truck account here, let's go ahead and move this over. So 58,500, that's an easy one. We'll just add that in. Now something to note here about the trial balance, right? You can see on the left side there's all the accounts, and you have a debit and a credit here for the categories of the balances. Now the order it must go assets first, as you can see, cash, truck, accounts receivable, then liabilities, then your equity, then revenue, then expenses. It must go in that order. Okay, next let's bring over accounts receivable. So we're going to go ahead and bring this balance over 767,630. So we'll copy and we'll paste, we'll right click, paste special, paste values only. Then accounts payable. Okay, 61,400 accounts payable. So make sure you put this in the right category, right? So it goes in the credit, right? Because accounts payable is a credit balance. So you got to make sure you put that in the credit category. Business capital, same thing here. So it's a credit balance normally, right? So what we're going to do here is take this 97,170. We're going to go ahead and paste the special. There we go, 97,170. Sales revenue. Let's move up here, 149,000. Move that over, and again, that's a credit because that's sales revenue. And then expenses, last number here, 34,500, right? But the balance, right? Make sure it's added up there. 44,800 as we move over. Let's copy that. Here we are. Paste special. And there we go, 44,800. So once again, we journalized, we moved it into general ledger to summarize it, and then we moved those balances, the final balances, into the trial balance here. And if you look at the bottom, 307,570 equals 307,570. So debits equal credits. So we know we did all the previous steps correctly because they equal each other, and that's very important. This is a big video here. Went through, we talked about what the trial balance was, where it goes in the accounting cycle, more of the concept of it. Then we moved into journalizing, figuring out the journal entries, analyzing them, summarizing them in the general ledger here, moving them over to get the balances for each account. Then lastly, we moved those balances into the trial balance and made sure debits equal credits. So hopefully that was helpful. If you really enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel. I'll continue releasing new videos every single week. And thanks again for watching How to Prepare a Trial Balance. If you're interested in taking your learning to the next level, My accounting student accelerator is 85% off for a limited time. So if you look in the description below, you'll find financial accounting and managerial accounting in the accounting student accelerator. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.